Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. I'm your host Lex.
And I'm your other host Dan, and we are your video game weekly... I fucked up. We are your weekly video game news podcast here on Chipbit Radio, chipbit.net.
It's Friday, April 28th, and we're going to be talking about all the news that came out this past week. We broadcast on Fridays from 7 to 8 p.m. on chipbit.net.
Yep. We broadcast live. And also on Twitch.
And also on Twitch, yeah. If you want to check out a show archive or see us on any social media, you can find us by searching Don't Copy That Floppy Podcast or DCTF Podcast. We're on Twitter, iTunes, YouTube, all the places. Yeah. Everywhere.
Every place.
Not Tumblr.
Every single place. Not Tumblr, though. Well, we have a story that involves Tumblr, though.
Oh, we do!
It's been a while. I can't remember the last story we talked about that involved Tumblr heavily. I'm sure we've done at least one. Tumblr loves getting involved in video games. So we got a story about Tumblr. We got a story about a game that's very near and dear to our hearts. We got some Nintendo news. We got some Sony news. We got some Vivendi Ubisoft takeover news.
Oh, update on that story.
We got some Cliffy B news.
Oh, yeah.
Some Overwatch stuff. Some of the Cow of Duty. Some COD Woot. Can we call this one COD Woot? I'm gonna call it that. We got some Halo news. We got... You know what? I'm gonna put this Cliffy B story right next to these AAA game news pieces.
It totally makes sense.
Right there where it belongs. Some news about Persona 5. I got personal news about Persona 5. Guess what? The game is dope as hell.
We do that.
I'm in September now, and goddamn... and then we'll end the show by looking at games that just came out and games that are coming out in the next week or so. So, like, upcoming releases and recent releases.
Oh, so what are we gonna start with? We're not gonna start with
We're chatting live, by the way, on chipbit.net. If you go to the chat, you can chat with us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, do you like this show? Maybe that's why you're listening to it. I don't know. But if you do, and you want to support it, you can either support us in two major great ways. One, the free way, is to go to iTunes and rate the show and review the show. We always appreciate that.
And two, the not free way.
The not free way is you can go to our Patreon and you can pledge some money every month to help us along, to help us reach goals, and you get cool stuff out of it, such as... bonus content every month. Also the ability to vote on different stories we do.
Yeah.
I had some great fan interaction this week. Someone sent us a message through our Facebook to talk to us. Remember when we did that episode about... we talked about how, like, what are you supposed to do when you're at a restaurant and your food hasn't come yet and you have to go to the bathroom? Do you remember this?
Yes.
This was like 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I do.
And we talked about how you should leave your shoe, because then there's no way.
There's no way you're not coming back. Or your child.
Yeah, definitely your child. This guy messaged us on Facebook. He's like, oh, you should just put your coaster on top of your water glass. That's the universal sign for be right back.
It is?
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. I trust him.
Are you sure that's not the sign that, like, someone's fucking under the table?
No, that would be a sock on top of
sock hanging over your drink glass. In it just enough so that the water seeps through and it gets really wet.
Well, just the toes part gets wet.
Just the tip. So anyway...
But no, I appreciate the fan interaction.
That's fantastic. I would love to have more of that, especially when we're talking about nonsense like that.
Yeah, no, that was the best thing. I like that they didn't talk to us
about video games.
Nothing about video games. Just like, oh no, this is the proper etiquette.
Should
for
our
when you're at a
podcast just
restaurant.
become about nonsense?
No, that's what our bonus content
that's
is for.
The bonus content, pretty much. So anyway, the first thing we're going to talk about this week is a little Kickstarter game that you found, Lex, called Dungeon of Czar.
Now, normally when we talk about Kickstarter games, we talk about Kickstarters that are currently ongoing. This one I found out about this week, and the Kickstarter had already ended for it. But I wanted to plug it because I just thought it looked really cool.
I'm gonna play this trailer.
We're going to play the trailer, and this is a game that's coming out for PC, Mac, Linux, and also the Switch. And that was how I heard about it, because I was looking at upcoming Switch games.
Switch getting so much indie games.
Yeah. So this game it's got super cute, cartoony art style, but it is a sort of medieval fantasy RPG.
It looks like the Disgaea games.
Or like FF Tactics.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I mean, they're kind of the same.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's because of the color scheme and the way it's like oriented and everything. It really makes me think of Disgaea more. But it's the same style of thing. It's a grid-based tactics RPG.
Yeah. And you can, so you recruit different guys to be on your team.
Look at all those guys. They can all be on your team. There's a fish man. There's a big red man. There's a wizard man.
You can arrange them in different combinations, so you can have more than one of the same type. You also find different loot in the dungeon, and then you can equip that to your team when you go out to fight, and it like gives different bonuses. There are apparently also all sorts of different like
guy with like a rock for a face.
Yeah, the rock guy. So I just thought this game was really cool, so I wanted
it's charming
to point it out. There's something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, it has a bunch of really cool features that were all, I think, Kickstarter stretch goals, maybe?
So many of them are listed here.
Yeah, so we've got... Whoa. So we've obviously got the single-player mode. DRM free!
What? That's crazy.
But it also has PvP stuff.
Yeah.
And a local mode on the device, which is why I am especially excited for the Twitch or for the Switch version of this. Especially if you can just use like one half of the controller to play it, that would be great.
Wow. And battles last around 15 minutes, so you can play it nice and quick. That stuff is great for like being on the Switch.
Yeah.
Because you can play it, like, on the go really quick. You craft items, progress through the dungeon. So there's an end game goal here for the single player, too, to get to the end of the dungeon. So, yeah.
So that was cool.
I think it looks really neat.
You got all these multiplayer
And you said
features.
it already got funded, right?
Yeah, I think it had been asking for, 25... 1,000 and it got like 26 or something.
Yep, got 26,250 euros. And they were asking for 25,000. So they just made it. They got what they needed to get. Good for them.
Good for them. I'm going to check that out.
Who really gives a shit about indie titles when you can play motherfucking Night Trap?
Night Trap is back!
It's gonna be a physical PS4 release!
Listen, when I heard this news this week, I was almost like, no, it's too good to be true.
That's fucking fantastic.
I thought, no, you're messing with me. The world is messing with this. Couldn't possibly be happening.
It came out on the 25th, by the way. On Tuesday we got this news.
This beautiful news.
Night Trap is coming out. It's coming out. When's it coming out? This spring.
It's really soon.
For the 25th anniversary of falling into the Night Trap. Look at that amazing box art. It's so good.
Apparently it was the original Sega CD box art.
It looks it.
It looks exactly like it was. But this is interesting because, as you may recall, we reported on how the original creators of Night Trap had set up a Kickstarter to try and raise, what was it, $300,000? It was like a pretty large chunk of money.
$330,000.
Yeah, to do a modern console release of this game, and I don't even think they were asking to do physical. I think they were just thinking of digital release.
Yeah.
But they wanted to do that, and they got not even close to enough money.
No.
People were not interested. So I like, and I think they wanted it to coincide with the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
So then I like how this random game company in, like, Kentucky or something, named Screaming Villains, was just like, hey, we got that money. Let's just do that.
They have at least one other game being released this year as well.
And that was, when I saw that, and I initially heard this news, that's what made me think, wait, is this not real? Because it's a game company I never heard of that doesn't have any other releases.
Yeah.
I'd
play this video, but now we know that Night Trap's IP is in a steel trap of copyright law. So I dare not play it. I'll fall into the Night Trap.
Oh no, the copyright.
Only an elite scat operative could get away with playing this video. So you know what this means, right?
This means you're getting Night Trap?
This means I'm streaming Night Trap.
Yeah, it does. You have a PS4. We have a capture card.
This means I'm streaming Night Trap. 100%.
I'm going to be there for that.
It's going to be amazing. I've never played Night Trap. I've only heard the legends.
I'm gonna backseat drive that game so hard.
And listened to the amazing theme song.
Yes, it's so good.
Watch out behind you, Night Trap. So this is the best news all week. Might be the best news all year.
Oh, definitely.
Will any story this year top Night Trap's physical release?
Only story that could top this is if this sells really well, and then in the summer, Screaming Villains announces Night Trap sequel.
Holy shit.
With full motion video.
Can you imagine that shit?
And they have the people dress up like it's still the 90s.
Full motion video? Holy hell. That's a new frontier. Full HD widescreen.
Yes.
I want Night Trap in 4K.
Yes.
For VR Night Trap.
VR Night Trap would be so good.
Night Trap is what... Okay. VR was created for Night Trap.
That's actually what John Carmack was thinking.
Yeah, he's like, man, I really want to play Night Trap again, but it's just not immersive enough. I want to feel the Scat Commander's mustache near me.
Oh man, that mustache was great. I can't wait for this.
I swear, if you can't tell, we're both unreasonably excited about this.
It's gonna be so great.
This was like the story that I wanted to talk about this week above all others. So, fuck yeah, Night Trap. The NES Classic. Moving on to our Nintendo news. The NES Classic is being discontinued because Nintendo realized there's no point in leaving it on shelves since it couldn't play Night Trap. But,
exactly.
No. So the last week... Was it last week that we reported on it being discontinued, or was it the week before?
Oh, that's a good question. It might have been the week before.
It was a little bit ago. We reported that Nintendo has decided to discontinue completely the NES Classic. There have been rumors running around that this is because they're gearing up to release an SNES Classic. Possible, but completely insubstantial at this point. They shipped 2.3 million units of this thing, so it was a wild success considering it could not have possibly been expensive to make.
No.
So that's great. And now we are getting a story from today on Polygon that says the NES Classic was discontinued because Nintendo said, and I quote, "We don't have unlimited resources."
Now,
that's true.
Yeah, like if EA said that, I'd say, no, you're lying. But we know that Nintendo, one of the ways that they cut costs...
Yeah, because they're a big company, but they're not like a mega corporation.
No, and they're known for being fairly frugal in how they do business.
For better or worse.
Yeah. It really is a double-edged sword with them.
Yeah. So, this... In light of one of our other stories, I think that this excuse is pretty valid. Mm-hmm. We talked about how possibly this was because the Switch was such a wild success, and they maybe wanted to push some of their production onto making more Switches, rather than making this other, like, kind of peripheral console that, like, people want, but it's like, it's not what they really want to be pushing as a company right now. They want to be pushing their new system, and pushing the fact that you can get these games also on the Switch. Go get it. Mr. Fizeme, the Reginator, said that they just did not anticipate how incredible the response would be, and apologized for the product shortages that Nintendo has every time they make anything. So the company last gave official numbers at the beginning of February when they said that the system had hit a sell-through total of 1.5 million. Now they're up to 2.3 million, so they did push a lot more out the door between then and now. Nintendo president Tatsumi Kimishima noted that while some parts require time to procure, the company was working to increase production. That was back in February. So clearly, when the Switch came out, because this was back in February, Switch came out in March, they probably made this decision like at the end of March, and said, okay, Switch is doing great. Switch over production to that. No pun intended. There you go. I can't snap my fingers, so you had to do it for me. So the Nintendo has also just announced, in light of this, the new Nintendo 2DS XL. Now, can anybody tell me what that means? So when I first saw this, the first thing that ran through my head was, because I looked down, I scrolled down, I saw this picture. If you're watching on Twitch or you've seen this thing already, you know what it looks like. looks like a DS XL, 3DS XL.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw it and was like, but how is that the 2DS? Because the 2DS is a pancake.
Yeah, it's
flat.
Not that clamshell.
Yeah, and I get, like, in the back of my mind, I obviously knew, like, oh, it's because it doesn't have 3D. Because the old 2DS didn't have 3D either.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I associate it more with it being flat.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw this, I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Nintendo? You're messing with my head, Nintendo. Why is it like this? So at first I thought, this is dumb. Why would they do this? This is stupid. But then I realized that it only costs $150, and I was like, oh.
Yep.
Never mind, this is a really good idea.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, when I saw that price point, I was like, yep.
Full turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
That price point is, like, so good.
Uh-huh.
Because I never used the 3D on my 3DS XL. This is the same thing, but...
Without the feature
without a feature, I don't care, for $50 less.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there's another article that says that it's coming with a 4GB SD card.
Oh.
And something else. It's bundled with something else. It includes an Amiibo reader.
Oh,
as well.
yeah.
And a 4GB micro SD card for extra storage. So that's included in that 150 price point, which makes it even better.
Mm-hmm.
Use all your amiibis with it. Amiibo-boos.
You won't be able to get them.
Your amiibo-bos.
You won't be able to get them because they don't want to produce any. But,
no, but maybe.
But maybe you'll get, like...
Use your friends.
One of those bogoblins.
One of those bogoblins. Truly the most sought-after amiibo figure. Watch the bogoblin legit be like one of the rarest ones, and it's worth a ton of money. Hey man, those bokoblins are kind of cute.
They are kind of cute.
If you get the bokoblin mask in Breath of the Wild, you can put it on and they won't attack you.
Well, obviously, because you're one of them.
They just hang out with you, and they're pretty cute. They just walk up to you and they like sniff you, and they go like, like they just. You can get a whole group of them following you around, and just be like buddies, and you can throw meat all over the ground, and they're like, yeah, and they all eat the meat. You have a big party.
They love it. Nice guys.
It's so good.
Oh, did I tell you I was playing a Switch this past weekend.
How did that go?
It was great. I played Breath of the Wild on it because there was nothing else to play on it, obviously.
Hey man, Breath of the Wild has a 102% attach rate to the Nintendo Switch. Which means that the game is outselling the console. And that's the Switch version of the game.
Yeah.
That's not including Wii U copies.
I didn't know that. Why wasn't that in the lineup?
I don't know.
That's amazing...
I could dig it up. I think it's actually from a week or two ago.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it's outselling it. Because probably there's people who are like, I can't get my Switch, but I could buy Zelda. So they just buy Zelda.
Oh yeah, because there were actually copies of Breath of the Wild, but there weren't copies of Switch. And they were like, well, I'll buy this now and I'll buy the Switch later.
That's crazy. That like never happens. System seller indeed.
Yeah. Man. But no, I found out about the way targeting works in that game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great, because you target with the thumbstick, but then you do your fine targeting by moving it around.
I think it works better on the Switch than it does on the Wii U. Because the Wii U motion controls are a little twitchier.
Yeah.
But they're still good. They're still usable. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Do we know what... So is the screen resolution for the 2DS XL, is that the same as the 3DS?
Given the price point, I'm going to say yes.
So, yeah.
I don't think they would change that. If they made it a higher res screen, like if this was a 480p screen for $150, this is the best thing ever, and I would trade in my 3DS XL and buy one. Mm-hmm. Because the big problem with the DS has always been that it has a 240p screen, which is like woefully out of date.
Oh yeah.
If this turns out to have like a better screen, then like shit, man. I mean, I don't think it will, but
no.
So the only problem with this thing is its horrible name.
Yeah, their naming conventions have never been great for their handhelds.
It's very confusing. Okay.
I'm still really excited for the 2DS XL Lite and 2DS XL Lite 3D. And the new 2DS Lite XL 3D.
It comes in black and neon blue and white and neon orange.
Trying to tap into that Switch color scheming.
Look at game. You can make your DS look like GameFly.
Oh yeah, it does look like that. That's weird.
Or Portal.
We'll
go with Portal. Nintendo is not holding an E3 press conference in 2017.
Didn't we already know that? I thought that was.
I think we assumed.
Yeah.
They've officially said now, as of yesterday, the 27th, that they will not be having an E3 press conference. Which means we're just going to get like an hour-long direct again, where they talk about everything. Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Everyone always makes a really big deal about it. Tatsumi Kimishima, the new president, sounds real sassy when he says, "We will not be hosting a large-scale press conference for institutional investors, analysts, and the media. Get out of our fucking face." I'm sure he didn't mean it that way, but it really comes off like that when you just read that one quote. Fuck the media. Fuck investors. Analyze this, asshole. So yeah.
They're going to be at this conference.
Yeah.
They're going to be talking about the new 2DS XL.
Yeah, they're going to talk about that. They're going to talk about games for it. There's that Pikmin game that was announced for DS.
Oh yeah,
is going to launch with the 2DS XL.
That's cool.
Apparently on July 28th. Yeah. Oh yeah, the 2DS XL comes out on July 28th.
Oh,
it has a date and everything. Sure. And it's great.
Oh no, it's going to be. Oh no, I guess that's the summer. I'm sorry. I was like, man, if it's coming out in the spring, it's going to be competing with Night Trap. You don't want that. Well, luckily, it's not.
Nothing can compete.
They're not
in
the same release window.
I want Night Trap Physical Edition to come out on the same day as Call of Duty World War II.
Yes!
The ultimate competition. Game of the Year contender right there. What are your Game of the Year predictions? I'm going to predict that it's going to be between Breath of the Wild, Night Trap, Persona 5, Call of Duty World War II, and Nier.
Yeah.
Nier, I want Nier to be nominated for Game of the Year, but I don't think it's going to be. It's too weird. I think people are going to be like, no, we can't nominate that for Game of the Year because people think it's too weird.
No, I think the Dorito Pope is going to have your back in this.
You think so?
Yeah. I think he's going to include it. I don't think it's going to win.
You think Jeff's going to be like, yo, put that Robo-Butt in there?
Yeah, because Jeff knows a good Robo-Butt when he sees one.
I've seen Jeff Keighley. I've seen his face. I've looked deep into his eyes. And I've learned one thing from doing so. We had a moment. It was like a Vulcan mind meld that I had between me and Jeff Keighley. And I learned right then that he is a fan of big robot asses.
Allegedly.
A man of true patrician taste, if you will.
Today's episode is goofy.
Today's episode is really goofy. I'm tired as hell.
Night Trap, I'm actually also really tired. Night Trap just put me in a good mood.
That's the other thing. We're both really, chipper because we got to talk about a real story about a physical release of Night Trap. And Jeff Keighley's penchant for robot asses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I want to put words in his mouth. Meanwhile, in Sony's neck of the woods, the PS4 has now shipped 60 million units.
Wow.
PS4 is doing gangbusters.
And we kind of saw this coming because the PS4 sells really well.
I mean, it's a good console. There's lots of really good games, including lots of really good exclusives.
You know what's on PS4?
Bloodborne.
I was going to say Nier Automata.
Nier Automata is also on PS4, but that's also on PC.
I forgot that was on PC, man.
Yeah, Glorious Master Race.
That's great.
It's led to Platinum Games saying, we'll put out every game on PC if we can. We love it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you got Bloodborne on there. Persona 4 is also technically not an exclusive. You can also get it on PS3. Persona 5, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it on PS3. So if anyone didn't know that and is like, oh, I wish I had a PS4 so I could play Persona 5, do you have a PS3?
You can play Persona 5.
You can play it.
You won't be able to play Night Trap, but you will be able to play Persona 5. So you'll have to settle for second best.
You'll get the second best game about teens having misadventures together.
Yeah.
I don't know if Persona 5 counts as misadventures. It's actually really serious most of the time.
All I know is that Matt Mercer was a cat suit.
Huh?
Doesn't he wear a cat suit in that?
No.
I thought he had a tail.
Oh, he's a fox.
Oh.
He's a foxtail and a fox mask.
He wears a dog suit. My mistake.
Yeah, a kitsune.
Sure.
He also wields a Nippon steel katana and an assault rifle.
They had an assault rifle.
Like a true master. Yo, man, that game's got some great banter between characters. At one point, Matt Mercer was like, I drew a doodle on my test and I received a gold star. I was like, good for you, Matt Mercer. So yeah, Sony has been doing good. The fiscal fourth quarter ended March 31st. They shipped 2.9 PS4s in the past 3 months. That's up from 2.3 million during the same period last year. So they went up.
See, that's what's really interesting, right? Because they released their what is it? PS4 Pro, is that what it's called? And so you'd think that their sales numbers would actually be going down because now they have competing hardware.
No.
But for some reason, it's not.
Nope.
Unless that factors in the Pro, but I don't think it does.
It might.
It does just say PS4 consoles. I don't know if that encompasses both. If it does encompass both, I guess this makes more sense to me. Otherwise, I'm just like, wow.
For comparison,
cool.
the PS3 sold more than 80 million units.
Over its whole lifetime?
Over its lifetime. So.
But yeah.
PS4's got a little ways to go.
Sony has this knack for when they can put out a really solid console, it'll just keep selling.
Which they've done, like...
pretty consistently.
3 generations in a row, at least, now. Like, PS2 sold, like... PS2's, like, the highest selling console of all time.
Oh, yeah.
By, like, a huge margin. PS3's real 80 million, and PS4's doing great. So they're doing it.
They know how to make a quality hardware product.
They do. PSN could use some work, though.
Yeah.
Fix that store, maybe.
I didn't say their software was great. But the hardware.
Hey. So Vivendi has been trying to take over Ubisoft for quite some time now.
And we have a little bit of an update to that.
But why?
So on April 25th...
Pourquoi, if you will.
Is that French?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I guess that makes sense then.
Yeah.
So on April 25th, there was a story in Reuters about this. And they really only, mention Ubisoft in passing in this article. Because they don't just want to talk about video games for some reason. Reuters. Mostly, though, what they do is they concentrate on Vivendi and why Vivendi is trying to acquire them.
Yeah.
And the chairman, whose name I can't... It's like Vincent Bollor? I don't know.
Sure.
You know French, but
I don't know if that's even a French name.
Oh. Maybe?
And if he's French, his name is Vincent.
Oh, get out of here. Ugh. Anyway, they've, it explains the reasoning why they're trying to grab Ubisoft up. And a lot of that is because there's pressure on their chairman from investors to expand the company. Basically. Because they actually haven't been doing, super great, especially because they've been trying to venture into the Italian telecom market. So Vivendi is a big European telecom company. So they don't just do video games, they do all sorts of stuff. They've been suffering losses in, what was it called? This thing they did for sports broadcasting.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting where it is in the article right now, but it's, but they suffered some losses in that recently, so they're trying to sort of make up for that.
Yeah.
And they're trying to attract new investors.
So they're trying to get into this new video game thing the kids like.
Yeah. I mean, because didn't they own Blizzard at one point?
They've been in and out of the video game industry in various places and ways.
And there's this other company that they're also trying to absorb, that they probably will absorb because they own a majority stake, and I think they own 60%. I'm looking through this article and I just keep not finding. Here we go. Havas Media is this other company that they own a big chunk of. They own 60%. And it's apparently run by the chairman of Vivendi's son. So they're just like, oh yeah, his son Yannick, which I still don't understand where he's supposed to, in Europe he's supposed to be from, but they're thinking of absorbing that, which makes sense. They only currently own a little more than 20% of Ubisoft, right? I think of Ubisoft.
Yeah.
25%, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Which is 25% by Vivendi. And it's going to be, there's a lot in this article talking about how, like, things we've talked about in the past, how Ubisoft is run by family, and any kind of hostile takeover of that, they're going to fight it tooth and nail, so that's going to be bad. And for that reason, I think, is why in the last 4 months, I think it's been, since we last talked about this, Vivendi has really slowed their roll on buying stocks. And now that there's all of this shareholder pressure back on the company, they're speeding up again. There's also some question as to whether the shareholders want to boot the chairman because they don't think he's being aggressive enough. So he's kind of doing this because he wants to keep his job, which is understandable.
It is.
So it's interesting. Like, this is, there's actually a lot of interesting details in this article, and it's worth checking out to get Vivendi's perspective. Because up to this point, whenever we talk about this this sort of thing in relation to video game news, we're just seeing it from Ubisoft's perspective and how they're sort of being victimized. And, I mean, I think they still are, but there's definitely, as this article points out, there's definitely a lot more at play.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
Although I like how when I tweeted about that article, I was like, after reading this extremely detailed and intense article, the only thing I could tweet about it was, Vivendi gonna get you, Ubisoft.
Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard's MOBA game, is having another Overwatch-themed event. This is coinciding with the new patch that's adding a bunch of stuff to the game and overhauling a bunch of parts of the game, including adding the new hero, Genji, from Overwatch, into the game. As a result, they're doing a 4-week-long event where you can earn rewards for Overwatch and other games. I think it's mostly for Overwatch and for Heroes of the Storm itself, by playing a bit. The Oni Genji skin that they put out a while ago, you could get by playing 10 matches of Heroes of the Storm. It was like a limited time thing. That is available again this week. I believe it's this week is when it started. Which will be followed by the Officer D.Va skin, which is D.Va in a little police officer outfit, and her mech's all like looks like a police car.
Okay,
it's got little booping sirens on the top.
That's great.
Wee woo.
I was gonna say the Genji Oni skin is it's amazing.
Awesome.
It's so cool.
It's
looking.
Wicked cool.
But is it as good as Police Officer D.Va? Maybe not.
Maybe not. Police Officer D.Va is also very strong. Then in week 3, there's some like mounts for stuff, like for a World of Warcraft, I guess, probably. D.Va icons and sprays, banners for Heroes of the Storm. And week 4 is 10 loot boxes for both Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm. That's actually a pretty good one.
Nice.
One thing that this Heroes of the Storm patch is also adding is an ability to, when you get a crate of, like a loot crate, and you don't like it, you can spend some of your in-game currency to dump that crate and reopen it and try and get something different.
Okay.
That is not a feature that exists in Overwatch, but I heard about this through another news source that I listened to. And I, for one, and I mean they did too, hope that is a thing that possibly is well received and makes it into Overwatch.
I mean, I assume that that's in Heroes of the Storm because they want
to see how it goes.
Or they just think that if it's more attractive to players, then that will attract players because that game has less players than a lot of their other
Overwatch
games.
Does. I would love that feature in Overwatch, though. You get a box full of like all repeats that suck. Yeah. And you can just be like, screw this. Mm-hmm. And just re-roll it. Maybe you'll get something cool for like 50 schmeckles.
Only 50 schmeckles?
Only 50 schmeckles. So this is neat. Blizzard's been doing tons and tons of cross-promotion between all their different games over the past couple of years, and I think it's really cool. Even though I don't have much of a desire to play most of their games, but it's still neat.
Yeah,
the sentiment is there.
That's also my problem. Like, I play one Blizzard game, and I don't... And the cross-promotional stuff is
free.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like, at least in this case, it's literally like, go play this game for, like, an hour or two, and you get some free stuff for Overwatch. Because why not? That seems like an okay deal to me.
No, it's a good deal.
Yeah.
I just haven't taken advantage of it with any of the Hearthstone crossover stuff they've done.
For the D.Va skin, I think they said you only have to play like 5 matches. You don't even need to win.
Nice.
I just go into Heroes of the Storm and just not have any idea what I'm doing and lose super hard and still get it. Because that's what it would be. I'm not going to take the time to learn how to play. No,
especially if you don't have to.
Steamroll my way into failure.
Yeah.
That is the one downside to this, is this means Heroes of the Storm is going to get a giant influx of people who don't give a fuck playing it for these 4 weeks just to hit the requisite amount of games.
But good for Heroes of the Storm players, because now they've got an influx of people they can probably beat really easily.
Yeah! So maybe people won't be that mad.
This is going to work out for everyone.
Everybody wins. Blizzard did it. Everyone will be happy.
Blizzard, you did it. Although, not everybody is happy.
Not everybody's happy. Tumblr's not happy.
Some
people on Tumblr are not
Although,
happy.
to be fair, is Tumblr ever happy?
Not really.
Not really.
They think they are, but they're not. They're just sad.
So, Police Officer D.Va skin, we think it looks great.
Yeah.
But a lot of people on Tumblr are really unhappy with it.
I don't want to, and I don't even want to say like a majority of people on Tumblr, because
probably not.
It's always the vocal minority. There are a bunch of people on Tumblr who are very upset that Blizzard chose to give D.Va a police officer skin, because there's a lot of people who feel that putting D.Va in a police officer outfit is entering potentially like dangerous territory, because in recent, at least in the United States, in the past several years, there's been a lot of controversy over protests and police brutality, and particularly police brutality towards minorities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. She's a 19-year-old Korean girl in a video game.
Yeah, so here's the thing.
That has nothing to do with actual police activity.
Yeah. It's really weird, because there are ways in which I could get where Tumblr was coming from in certain scenarios. Like, if Orisa got the skin, I'd be like, okay, I still don't agree with you, but I kind of see where you're
Orisa's
coming.
Like the African representative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get what you mean by that.
But in America, with all the police brutality stuff, there aren't cases of police beating up Korean people. And and as far as I know, the Korean, or I should say South Korean specifically, police forces are actually like really good and don't have all this.
As far as we know,
yeah.
Well, I think the majority of police officers in the world are good people.
Yeah.
Like, that's not to say that every country doesn't have police officers who are either assholes, racists, or just generally not very good people. I think every country has that. Yeah. Perhaps America has more than others, or perhaps Americas have just been showcased more than others. Yeah. I don't know. But to demonize an entire profession worldwide because bad things have happened in the past few years is a massive logical fallacy, and just super, super, super over, like, I hate saying, like, hypersensitive, because that always comes up with, like, Tumblr-related stories, but it is.
Well, what's interesting...
It's really alarmist and overboard.
You know what I just realized about this is, what it is it's stereotyping, which is the thing that led to a lot of the police brutality cases in the U.S. to begin with.
But now it's flipped around and been like, well, cops are just horrible people. Mm-hmm. Like, most of the pushback against this, someone on Tumblr drew this picture of D.Va wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, but which also is really weird, because she said, I see your ugly-ass police officer deeds you and I raise you actual canon D.Va. But D.Va doesn't wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt.
Is there anything in canon that
has
suggests
that
she's part of that movement? Because
no.
I don't think there is.
And also, people are saying, like, part of the reason we like Overwatch is because it's an escape from reality. It's like it's a whole other world with these whole other characters and a whole different thing. But number one, to say that is doing exactly what you're mad about, which is removing it from fantasy and bringing it into reality. It's also objectively not true, because there's nothing in the game about that at all. Mm-hmm. And it's just weird. It's just weird that this is causing so much of a problem for a lot of people. You just put her, like, what? There's got to be other Overwatch costumes out there that have a similar thing that people haven't gotten pissed about. Where's all the hyper conservative Christians mad about Witch Mercy because of witchcraft, or Reaper because he exists?
He's an Edgemaster Ghost Man.
He's an Edgemaster Ghost Man. They hate it. Where are all the people who are, like, pissed off about the representation of Australians as psychopaths in Overwatch?
Oh yeah, that's true, isn't it?
We know 2 Australians in that game, and they are both murderous psychopaths.
Uh-huh.
They're lovable murderous psychopaths, but that doesn't change that
Junkrat!
Junkrat! Roadhog! What a shining beacon of Australian pride those 2 are.
And they're both so dirty.
They're filthy! They're filthy, disgusting thieves. But nobody's pissed about that.
I never thought about all the Australian commentary Overwatch was making until now.
That's the thing. That's what baffles me the most about this, is people are taking D.Va in a Korean police officer uniform as this huge affront to, like, representation of people, of, like, to, like, oppression of minorities and all, like, projecting on all this other stuff, when you can take something like this with, like, every Overwatch character. It's like, why is, like, what about Soldier 76? He's a symbol of the military-industrial complex.
And dads.
But only white dads.
Discrimination.
Oh no.
Although, to be fair, I think dad groups probably encourage Soldier 76 because it makes them look more competent.
Why are people not angry about the, Asian, like, Tibetan, Nepalese culture being represented by robots? And not human beings.
Yeah.
Huh? These are the real hard-hitting questions. Also, I will say, it's also funny that they're like, I get play Overwatch to escape from real-life troubles and worries, when one of the main crux plot points of Overwatch's entire universe is intense racial tension.
That's true.
Between humans and Omnics.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on here.
So does that mean Police D.Va is bad if there's a victory pose of her just using a baton on an Omnic? would that be bad?
D.Va's new highlight intro. Oh, see, that would be tone deaf.
Yeah.
But Blizzard would also never do that.
No.
Which is the funny difference here, isn't it? Oh, I don't know.
This is silly.
I'm waiting for somebody to complain that Genji and Hanzo have, like, offensive accents. Because they sound really Japanese. But that's because they're voiced by Japanese people. That's my favorite, is when you hear a character who, like, is speaking English with a thick accent, and people call out the game for, like, a racist portrayal of a character, of, like, oh, this is the stereotypical accent, racist portrayal, and then you find out that that character was voiced by an actual, like, native speaker, or native of the place that character's supposed to be from.
Yeah.
That's, like, my favorite. That's my big favorite. Overwatch is great about that, too, actually. Almost all of its many of its characters are voiced by, like, people of that ethnicity.
Is D.Va Korean?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, nice.
May's voice actress is Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
May's voice is literally just her voice actress talking.
Oh.
She does not change her voice at all. Symmetra's voice actress is Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, she might be from Bangladesh. I need to look that up. Whoa.
Whoa.
Pretty intense.
Tumblr's gonna get upset about that.
Most of the white characters, voice actors, are white.
What? But no, I think that this particular case is the internet being silly.
Very over hypersensitivity like situation. It's also there's a little addendum at the end of this article saying, and I quote, yes, all because a member of the Korean military has a skin of another branch of the Korean military. Again, American teenagers being ethnocentric to the point of being inadvertently racist by projecting American sensibilities onto foreign countries and their people.
Well, yeah, that's like what I was saying earlier. Yeah. The Korean police force has
nothing to do with all those.
Yeah, they don't have the same like record of police brutality that the American police force does. I mean, let me caveat that by saying I don't know a whole lot about the Korean police force.
I bet it's a safe assumption, though.
Yeah, because I probably would have read in the news about it. I read a lot of international news. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, what's Cliffy B up to?
Oh, Cliffy B.
According to you, he's getting up to some lucid dreaming.
He is. Cliffy B, lucid dreaming. He's working at it. He's having a rough time. But
Cliffy B decided that AAA games are bad.
Sort of. He did a whole speech. I think he had a PowerPoint presentation. That's the way it seemed to be described in this gamesindustry.biz
Cliffy
article.
B made a PowerPoint presentation?
I think he did.
What, these are brave times we're living in.
This is an article from...
what a man.
Yeah, from last week on Friday. So it was April 21st. Yeah. And where was he? He was at
Reboot Development.
Yeah, Reboot to Develop.
This is a gaming event.
And he said that blockbuster games have found themselves in a really, really weird spot.
Yes.
The kind of highbrow commentary you expect from Cliff Bleszinski.
Yeah. AAA is starting to feel, he said, and I quote, AAA is starting to feel like the American restaurant scene. Meaning, like, the increase in globalization means every major city usually is the exact same chains and franchises as far as food goes. And as Cliffy B said, they're not bad, they're not great, they're just kind of there.
Yep.
And they're expected to be there. Which I think is actually a pretty apt comparison to AAA titles.
Yeah, and
Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, they're not bad. Not great.
They're just there.
But they're always there.
They're always there. He talks about how there are about 8 different kinds of games, and they're just repeated over and over again.
That is also true.
That's definitely true. I wouldn't even say as many as 8.
I'd like to hear his full list of 8.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can dig up his PowerPoint.
And he also talks about how consumers, they need to know the name. They're too scared to take a risk on a new IP, especially when these games are $60. Now, this struck me as an interesting point because I don't agree with him here, but this is what we hear all the time from game executives. That, like, oh, no, I mean, we can't take a risk on a new IP. Consumers won't buy it.
Yeah.
But then there are, like, multiple instances in the past several years where that's happened and it's been fine.
Yeah.
So I don't exactly know.
It doesn't always happen.
No, but
it happens.
But yeah, it's totally possible.
Yeah. I mean, making a really good game helps.
Usually,
certainly helps get it noticed. He says that the AAA model is nearly unsustainable. Obviously, unless you are one of these super companies like Activision, 2K, or Sony, which is also true because the amount of marketing, advertising, development that goes into every single iteration of these titles is the money's insane.
Yeah.
Which is why they need to sell so many freaking copies, and if they don't, it's a disaster.
And that's why he's talking about, so he's like, okay, this model doesn't work for everyone, and then he offers his alternative, which is the AA model.
We need to start looking at trying to make a AA games development tier.
Yeah.
Almost.
Which I actually think is a really good idea.
Yeah.
So he talks about how these are games that are probably going to sell for less than $60, that might not be cutting edge, but they concentrate on 1 or 2 aspects of gameplay that they can just nail and get really good.
And to me, this comes off as finding a medium between those AAA huge blockbuster games and indie games.
Yeah.
You want to find that middle ground and have that become a burgeoning market.
Yeah.
With lots of options.
And he gives examples. He mentions Warframe, Rocket League, and Rust. And I think, especially with Rocket League, that's a pretty solid argument to make.
Yeah.
Because you could definitely make a lot of money on those games. They're fairly straightforward games. Like, I think it would be...
And they do what they do very well.
Yeah, I think it would make a lot more sense if things like the FIFA franchises, like a lot of... And the Madden franchise...
Went with something like that?
Yeah, went to AA, so they were a little less money, and they, Because what are they doing? They just, I don't know... You have a really good character generator. But otherwise, it's just the same gameplay every game.
So, while we agree with Cliffy B about a lot of that, we don't agree with him about VR.
Okay, so this is his next point. So first he talks about the AA market, and then he's like, but what we really need to look at is branching into virtual reality. And then he immediately started talking about how VR has helped him hone his lucid dreaming skills. I'm a better lucid dreamer when I wear a sleep mask because I think I'm wearing a headset.
Good for you, Cliffy.
And I'm like, Cliffy B, you had me. I was all about what you were saying until you started saying that. Now I just think you were a crazy person. He then goes back to reality briefly when he talks about how VR games, for full immersion, you really need super high quality graphics.
Unreal Engine 4.
And Unreal Engine 4 is going to give you that better than Unity. Which is a pretty solid point to make.
Unity's way easier to use, though.
Definitely. So I think that's interesting, but I think his idea about VR is silly. It's people aren't interested. He then
some people are, but
not that many.
Not
It's a very niche market.
Yeah.
He talks about how these one of the things he says is, if I were Oculus, Facebook, or Vive, I would have kiosks at every major retail location and a tech team that comes around to set it all up properly. And he talked about that in relation to his parents. Again, some of the things he says in this are super weird. He talks about how VR, he doesn't think that the problem with VR is the price point. I think he mentioned the price point briefly, which is especially weird because he talked about the price point of games earlier in his speech.
Yeah.
But the thing he thinks is the more difficult thing about VR is that it's really hard to set up. And then he's like, my parents can't even program the clock on their VCR. How could they ever do VR? And I'm like, dude, they're not the target audience.
Yeah,
they're never going to use VR.
But bro, VR price point is a non-issue when you think about all the sweet lucid dream boning you're going to get to do.
Yes. It's true.
Cliffy knows.
He knows.
He knows.
He's been working on this for years.
He's been working on it for years.
So, he then talks about at the end of the VR thing. He talks about how like all technologies, it's getting better, or it'll get better, it'll get faster. But give it a bit of time.
Yep.
So this is the thing that I think flies over the head of all of these game devs about VR, is that VR, when VR got released, the market, the public looked at it, and it wasn't, as fast as it could be, it wasn't as good as it could be, it wasn't as cheap as it could have been, and that was your opportunity to introduce yourself to the market, and that's over now. You don't get a second chance at that with technology. Not usually.
Yeah.
In the future, we could probably see VR headsets that are, way lighter weight, that work way better, that are way cheaper, but people will still have the mindset of what they thought about VR when it first came out, is that it's big and it's clunky and it gives you headaches and it's really expensive and you need a powerhouse computer to run it.
Yep.
And that's why they really shouldn't have released VR when they did, but
people got excited.
The other thing he never mentions about VR, probably the biggest point about VR, is the games.
The sex games.
Oh, you should mention
Listen, the only thing VR is good for is sex. Period. Full stop.
Yes.
Companies need to understand this.
Dude, the porn companies are working on it.
They've made breakthroughs.
Mm-hmm. They're going to keep working at it.
The technology exists.
Yeah, that's... yeah.
Hey, the money's there, man. Listen, if somebody will buy a $10,000 real doll, you can market VR porn.
True.
100%. At that point, the price point is super appealing.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of real dolls, Call of Duty World War II is here. I mean, it's not here yet.
No, we got
this fall.
we got a trailer for it.
Yep.
This week, which, as Dan I think was saying earlier, it looks like
Battlefield 1.
Battlefield 1, but
set in World War II.
Yeah,
it looks like the sequel to Battlefield 1.
It does,
as made by a different company.
Mm-hmm.
Battlefield 2.
But aside from the really fancy, pretty trailer, we also got some details on how the gameplay is going to work.
No regenerating health.
No regenerating health.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Kind of into that.
They say you have to worry about every bullet. Can't just stand there taking a bunch of shots, ducking and shooting again. You gotta be really smart. You gotta be scared. That sounds like Battlefield 1.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, everything about this game, aside from the fact that it's set in World War II, is Battlefield 1.
So it's Battlefield 1 20 years later.
Yes, by Sledgehammer Games.
Yep.
$60, please. I will say, based on the trailer, like, the representation of these major battles, like the Battle of the Bulge and Normandy and that stuff, looks fantastic.
Yeah.
As I would have expected it to. I was not disappointed when I saw that stuff. There's a lot of tanks in the trailer, which, for me personally, is delightful.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of tanks. And the ones during World War I are stupid. So World War II, we had, like, cool tanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that.
Yeah.
So I might
I forgot you're a big World of Tanks person.
I am. I just like tanks in general. It's not even. It doesn't even have to be World of Tanks. I just think they're cool. They're neat. So seeing big cool tanks in a AAA game doing tank things is neat. And I'm sure there will be a very cool tank level where you get to be inside it and do stuff.
Because seeing big cool tanks in a AAA game never happens.
No, but not like this. They're in AAA games, but like. I think they're based on the trailer. I think they're going to be more involved.
I can literally not think of a AAA war shooter that doesn't have a tank in it.
Yeah, but they don't always do them that real.
No, they might not do them that well. That's fair.
It's like there's a whole. I think I can hope for this game to put this whole extra level of like immersion on the tank scale. Because like I go play GoldenEye and get in a fucking tank, in the tank level GoldenEye 64. And be like, oh, I'm in a tank! But it's stupid! It's not like a real tank, it's dumb.
I mean, yeah, but you could use that to describe most of GoldenEye 64.
Yeah, like, you go play GTA 3 and put in the cheat code to get a tank. That's not even a tank, it's got wheels on the bottom. What the fuck is that? It has a door on the side.
Forgot about that. Is it when you?
It's not a tank. It's bullshit.
Does it the way that works that whenever you bump into another car, the car explodes?
It just explodes. You can turn the turret around. You can turn around backwards and shoot, and it propels you forward really fast.
That was amazing. I loved that. Oh.
So that's what I mean, though. It's like, there's a lot of big name games that have tanks in them, but a lot of times it's just you get in and you can shoot the gun, and it's kind of cool. But, like, I want this to be, like, you're in the tank and you get to play the different roles and stuff. Yeah. Like, load the shell, drive the tank as, like, a driver with the clutch and all that shit. Be the commander guy and call out shots. Like, it'd be really neat if there's, like, a level where you get to switch actively between all the different crew members and do a bunch of shit.
Does this mean all tanks are stick shift?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh. I could never.
At least they were back during World War II.
Yeah.
There was a Russian tank, and the shifter was so freaking hard to shift that people like broke their arms doing it.
Nice.
It was bullshit. Russia made bullshit.
Sounds like Russia.
They had another one that the gun was so big that when it shot, the entire tank filled with poisonous smoke. So they're like, oh, we gotta do something about that. So they just put a door on the back of the turret. So whenever you were shooting, you just opened the door. So you wouldn't all pass out and die.
Sounds like Russia.
That's World War II Russia for you.
Yep. I want to really briefly mention the next story you have queued, but we're out of time.
Yes.
So then I want to skip to upcoming games.
Okay.
So apparently we found out April 26th through a Polygon article that Halo 6 will be all about the Mr. Chef. And no other playable characters.
Not even Spartan Locke.
So, this is interesting, because in the last Halo game, they had I think it was like a 50-50 split. I did not play it, so I can't say for sure.
I haven't played Halo games
but
since 3.
It looks like it was from the stuff I read about it, it was Guardians was more of a 50-50 split between Master Chief and Spartan Locke. And when that came out, especially you, but basically both of us, had the reaction of, so who's Spartan Locke?
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard from all of these people online, no, you don't understand. Spartan Locke, he's a big part of the lore.
You gotta know
loves
the lore.
him. Yeah, everybody loves him. He's great.
Halo has the deepest lore.
And apparently he was so great for the franchise that for the next installment, they've decided to not include him.
This is the deepest lore. It's deeper than Bloodborne lore.
Whoa. Is it as deep as Code Vein lore?
I don't know how deep Code Vein's lore is yet.
Probably goes deep.
Listen, bro, Bloodborne's lore is deep.
So I just wanted to joke about
if you want to stream Persona 5, you can stream up until November in-game now.
They're not going to penalize you, but to be fair, they weren't going to penalize you.
They weren't going to penalize you. They just didn't want people to spoil shit, and they were trying to scare people off. So now they're still doing that by trying to scare people off from playing the end of the game. Game ends in December, so you can play up till, like, the penultimate month.
Oh.
Bayo 3 might be coming, but probably not. But maybe. What games just came out?
Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3 on PC.
Outlast 2 just came out. Episode 4 of Walking Dead Season 3. This indie game called What Remains of Edith Finch. It sounds kind of interesting. You play as some lady and she goes back in time and inhabits the bodies of her ancestors in their, like, final moments.
Oh.
So you uncover a mystery by playing through, like, the dying moments of all of your ancestors.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of neat. You're getting good reviews.
So today...
Little Nightmares.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yo, that's a Mario Kart game right there.
Yeah,
you want
the
a
Switch.
robust Mario Kart? Check that out.
So that is a port of the Wii version, but it has more content.
Updated everything, basically. Like, way more content. Upcoming, on the 5th of May, we have Prey.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, I'm curious about it. On the 9th of May, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm going to talk about this right now. Strafe. It's coming out.
Dan, are you going to buy Strafe?
I'm going to buy Strafe.
Dan, we're going to stream
I'm
Strafe.
going to buy Strafe, and I'm going to play Strafe with my mouse sensitivity substantially lower than it was at PAX.
I still can't tell if they did that just to mess with the people who are playing it at PAX.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's Devolver, and they're kind of...
They like to joke.
They like to joke. They might have been... That might have been to mess with us, or
they're
maybe...
wild and crazy guys.
Or maybe we just really don't understand how you're supposed to play Strafe. But it seems like...
I can't do no PC FPS. I don't know what the pro tactics are.
That mouse sensitivity was insanity.
Oh my god, it was so crazy. Loco Roco Remastered on the PS4. Don't know what Loco Roco is? That's all you need to know.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's a cute game where you roll around as a ball, and my wife wants to play it. Everybody buy Loco Roco Remastered. My wife wants to play it. That's your selling point?
So, I think that's just about all we have time for.
That's it.
We have been Don't Copy That Floppy, a video game news podcast broadcasting live Fridays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on chipit.net, twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. You can find archives of the show on Chipit, YouTube, and iTunes.
Yes.
If you want to support the show, please leave an iTunes rating and review. You can also support us by giving to our Patreon and helping us buy stuff. Next big thing we're buying, it's going to be a while until we get it.
What the next big thing is.
But we're upgrading our audio equipment.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Get a mixer and a better microphone.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah,
it's going to sound great. We're going to get real close, and then it's going to be really breathy.
We finished paying off the
capture card. Yeah. So, for those who already support us on Patreon, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thanks so much.
It's really great.
We did a thing with it. It also paid for our PAX passes.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. So yeah, I think that's about it. So, there will not be a show next week.
Why not?
Because I have to go to a wedding rehearsal dinner.
Oh, because that's on that night.
Yep.
Fair.
Yeah. I'm glad I mentioned it, because even you didn't know.
Yeah, no, I didn't know, because I knew the wedding wasn't that day.
Yeah, no. So there will not be a show next week, because I will be out being a groomsman. I'm real excited. Don't listen to this, Andrew.
Oh, no, he actually might listen to it.
No, it'll be fun. I'm sure it'll go great. Yeah. until next week. Or till the week after next week. You need to remember shit for next week.
Until next time.
Until next time. See, that's how you do it. That's a catch-all.
Yep.
Till next time, remember...
Don't copy that floppy.